not, citizens. Hope has arrived because we're back talking Boku no Hero Academia Season 6. And yeah, thanks, Argwinder. The intro goes pretty hard. Made it myself. I'm kind of proud of
Hey.
it. But, I think it's very fitting, the song that's playing in that intro for this episode. It's almost like I had foresight, like Sir Night Eye, right? Isaac, welcome back, bro. It's been a minute. How you doing, man?
I have a cold, but outside of that, it's good.
I'm glad you're at least doing okay with that cold. Jamie, it's been a couple weeks. Dabi showed up. How are you processing everything that has happened in these 2 episodes?
I feel that every couple weeks I come back, my status report is that my brain has melted and is running out of my ears, and that just continues to be the case. I feel like I should have seen some things coming that happened, but I just didn't, and then I was like, "Oh my god, how come I didn't see this?" So it's just a lot of shock, a lot of good anime. It's some good times.
Very good times in a hopeless situation. We get to just, Isaac and I have been talking about My Hero Academia for a couple years now. Strange enough to say. And I have to say, Isaac, the best moments are when we have to address the hellish Todoroki family.
I mean, there's a reason why we have said that they should get a spin-off at some point.
In 10 years, when we get My Hero Academia 99, maybe Horikoshi will let us vote for Shoto. We'll see.
But by the way, I need to ask you a question.
Shoot.
Do you know the difference between a good and bad joke?
What is that, sir?
Silence.
Timing.
Oh.
So, speaking of timing, Dabi's Dance is episode 124. We're picking up where we left off a couple weeks back, right? So, we had Midoriya and Shigaraki in the vestige space. And then we had Ochako versus Toga, and we kind of see the ramifications of that. But this episode specifically, it's just a curveball. It is the biggest curveball of all time, really, because out of nowhere, Dabi just says, all right, I'm just going to casually upload a YouTube video and destroy society as we know it. Mm-hmm. And to this day, this still might be one of my favorite moments in My Hero Academia, like just period, because of what happens here. Isaac, you weren't here last week, but I want your thoughts on this reveal, right, of Toya, Todoroki, and Dabi.
I was here.
But
honestly, it's kind of funny that the most brutal and I burn in everything to the ground, I really don't care, outside of Shiggy, is basically doing a pacifistic measure to just take down the society, if you really think about it.
Yeah, he didn't have to cause an all-out war. He didn't have to go destroy the symbol of peace. He just said, I'm going to air out all of your dirty laundry because people think you're perfect.
Yeah, which is kind of funny considering today's society, if you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of fitting.
Artwinder says in the comments, Dabi's twist, a twist that everyone saw coming, but still somehow an amazing moment. Yeah, it's true. Like, because the moment we see Dabi, I feel like I always assumed he was going to be Toya Todoroki. Jamie, what were your thoughts on this development? Did this come out of nowhere for you, or did you at least consider this as a possibility at any point?
I feel like an earlier version of myself definitely would have caught on to this, but I barely remember these anime characters' names, let alone the seasons and seasons of things that happen. So I feel like at one point I did have this thought, and then it just immediately left because we kept the anime train rolling. So to see this all finally come back around, and for me to have been like all the signs are right there, and I just somehow didn't notice, that was pretty great. this it's twist of the year in my opinion. Twist of the year. That was really good.
So we're gonna do a little bit of backtracking. We're gonna go back to Dabi's first appearance in season 2 of My Hero Academia, and he introduces himself as "Call me Dabi." He didn't say "My name is Dabi." Season 3 of My Hero Academia, he knows Shoto by name, and you can say, "Well, the sports festival just happened. A lot of people know Shoto," but he's like, "Hey, good to see you again, Shoto," and he kind of just drops that line. Season 4 of My Hero Academia, he goes off against Endeavor, Midako, and Hawks after that Nomu, and he's like, "We'll meet again, Endeavor," and it just slowly builds and builds and builds, and it got to the point where either you forgot about it or you're like, "This is too obvious, right? There's no way that they're going to do this," because all of the fire users in the show being related, it's ridiculous, right? That's too easy of a pull. But the way Horikoshi handled this in the manga and the way it gets adapted here in the anime makes it one of the best moments in My Hero Academia. Like, the Joker influence is so dang strong.
Oh yeah.
In his reveal. It's such a fantastic moment. It comes out of left field, and I think that's why I love it, right? It's so random. And it just destroys Endeavor to the point where he hasn't moved in 2 episodes. Like, he's
I know,
standing there
yeah.
shook. I love something that Dabi says in the comments, and it's that the past never dies. He said that in the manga. In the show, he says you reap what you sow. And I love the line change because it encapsulates everything that's about to happen on that battlefield. Before we get there, I'm going to address this comment right quick. Dabi, quote, "I saw this movie where a funny, unstable clown man danced down some stairs, so I'm going to steal his moves." Yeah, he really became the Joker. I love the moment where he grabs Shoto and Shoto says, "Are you crazy?" And he just says, "Yes, I am, Shoto."
Like, bro, if you can't tell, that's a problem.
It's got a few screws loose, but I love how this builds, right? You reap what you sow, the theme of this battlefield.
Yeah.
As when we get to the moment where Best Jeanist shows up and he starts saying every single thing we've done up to this point mattered. Lemillion putting his life on the line to save Eri 2 seasons ago mattered, right? And like that influence on her allowed this battle to change. It gave Aizawa a reason to keep on fighting as hard as he could. It gave Togata a chance to come back in the next episode. We'll get there in a sec, but I want to stick in episode 124 for a second because it's easy to jump to the next part. We still have to address everything that's happening with Himiko Toga and Ochako Uraka and Sue, but Toga's not allowed to call her that, which I think is funny. Isaac, this is a fight that we all kind of expected was going to happen eventually, right? The 2 female characters of the show going at it. How do you think, like, the idea of Toga questioning what it means to be a hero, what it means to be a villain in this society, and her not twisted, but like her unique worldview mirroring Uraraka's, who doesn't quite understand, but I think it kind of hits her at the end of their confrontation. What are your thoughts on like how Horikoshi's approaching that side of the story?
Honestly, it feels sort of like I know that I have said it a lot in our My Hero Academia recording speed, anime or manga, but it's just a classic example of nature versus nurture here, I dare argue. Because if Toga were properly taken care of and they could use her abilities as a hero and they give her a good upbringing, maybe those 2 would be best friends, as far as we know.
Yeah, that's very possible, you know, and I think that's the heartbreaking truth, right? Is that she says, "I turn into the people I love," and then she explains that she turned into Uraraka, and her view of love is different from ours, but that doesn't mean it's any less valid, right? It doesn't mean her feelings are any less real. So Jamie, like, what were your thoughts on that kind of like powerful conversation between the two in the midst of all of this chaos?
I think it turned out much better than what I had anticipated a couple weeks ago. I'm glad they were kind of able to have that moment together, even though um I don't know, it was definitely a lot of warring emotions, but I'm glad Toga at least got to express herself and it was um understandable, I guess. I wasn't sure if she was going to be able to get her point across or not. Well, I definitely think it will have affected Uraka in some way. Definitely with, Toga using her power to hurt other people, but also just like the questions that she posed to her saying like, what 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 are the true differences between like the heroes and the villains and bringing that point up again. Oh.
You're muted, Mike, in case you want to say something.
Yeah, I was just saying that this goes back to what you were saying, Isaac, about them in another lifetime being friends, right? Because Horikoshi drew this for Jump Festa last year. And it's all of our kiddos being all friendly and chummy, and it's adorable. It's like, unfortunately, they're trying to kill each other right now because Hero Society failed Toga and Shigaraki, and it almost failed Midoriya when you really think about it, because I want to remind everyone that kid was borderline suicidal when All Might met him. So
Yeah.
thank goodness that interaction went Deku's way, because that could have been very, very bad. But yeah, I think it's really great. We have a comment here. When a time traveler moves a chair, the image above. Yes, essentially. This, for audio listeners, Horikoshi drew a photo of Deku, Shigaraki, Bakugo, Uraraka, and Toga looking like the best of friends. It's adorable until you realize Deku's arm is about to decay off when you really think about what's happening here.
Yeah.
That's okay.
He doesn't need it. It's fine.
Dabi is literally built together by thread. Yeah, like that's what I love about this batch of episodes we're recording here today. The idea that you reap what you sow is such a great theme, I'd say, for this section of the story, and I love how it all comes together. It comes together. We actually talked about these moments. That's how long we've been doing the manga here on the show. We actually talked about these. What were your thoughts on how it was as an adaptation, right? Because, like you said, some of these ideas we've been talking about for a long time now, but seeing it with the score, the animation, seeing Dabi literally dance, right, as opposed to a still image, emulating dance. How do you think this played as an adaptation?
It plays perfectly. And like you guys said, it was very much Joker influenced. I wouldn't would even go so far to say that I wouldn't be surprised if the Bones staff saw the Joker before adapting this episode. If I'm being animating this episode, if I'm being completely frank.
Well, if you go back to the manga, pushing up my glasses, being the nerd here, Horikoshi clearly is inspired by the Joker when he's drawing it. So much so that I'm gonna pull it up for the YouTube audience here to see. Horikoshi does sketches like every single week for each episode of My Hero Academia, and this was his sketch this week, and it's very much Joker influenced.
Oh yeah.
Like you can just see him going, "Why so serious?" Right? It's great. That leads us into the next episode, though. We can kind of bounce and forth between the two because it's a lot. It's a lot because these two episodes are crazy. We have to talk about the Threads of Hope, which I feel like this is a perfect episode because this is when things finally come together, right? You finally get that sense of hope, that Superman All Might feeling of everything's okay. because Best Jeanist and Lemillion are here. This is another episode, when you really think about it, insane reveals. Jamie, what are your thoughts on the whole... We're going to start with Best Jeanist, because we thought he was dead for like 2 seasons now.
Yeah.
Were you shocked by that?
No, not really. I saw him on the screen. I was like, oh, cool. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I watch a lot of anime, and there are a lot of seasons of My Hero, and including the movies. I just, I'm just here for a good time, head empty sometimes. And when Best Jeanist came on the screen after Dabi was just talking about, yeah, and you guys killed Best Jeanist, he's like, actually, I'm like, oh shoot. He's here. So that was I feel like that was more of the shock to me, the fact that he was like, oh, I heard my name, are y'all talking about me, what's going on? And he showed up right on time. That was more of a shock to me than I think anything else. But I'm glad he's back, because he definitely he contributed a lot to this battle, and kept things mostly under control for the episode, or at least as much control as there could have been.
Yeah, Best Jeanist is a character, and we've talked about that a little bit here on the show. But Best Jeanist is a character that he was a top 3 hero, but we never really see him do too much. And so seeing him basically take down Gigantomachia single-handedly was enough to say, yeah, there's a reason this guy is a top 3 hero. And I love that for his character, because you start to question, why is he right next to All Might and Endeavor and Hawks?
Mm-hmm.
Get to that in one sec, but
that's definitely
me. Yeah, so it's like he's got a cool design. He's got a relationship with Bakugo, whether you count it as a good one or not. Well, that's to be determined. But I'm really glad that he was able to come back in such a pivotal moment. And I'm glad he was also like, hey, we're working together for one common goal, regardless of where we all came from to get to this point. Also, best costume of all time. Guys, just look at this. This is so stupid. I love it. The belt buckle over the nose. It's insane. I want to address Art Winder's comment now. He says, quote, I don't know if these shots in the episodes are in the episodes, but there was a panel where Jeanist had his wires around Shigaraki's neck. It could have killed him. So yeah, Best Jeanist is a strategic genius. He is. One thing that I really dislike about both these episodes, they kind of spoil the reveals. Because in the previous episode, we see Best Jeanist in like the air carrier thing.
Oh, with the previews?
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped watching the previews.
Well, not just the previews, like at the beginning of the episode, we see the wires and we see somebody in a jean outfit saying, we need to get there, we're running out of time. And it's like, they don't show his face, but I feel like a lot of people are gonna be like, who else wears jeans in this show? Because when you think about it, no one else wears jeans at all in this show.
It has to be All Might, the American superhero.
If All Might showed up to this battlefield, death flags everywhere. Like you're just like, he's not coming back. The master has to die. Especially Gran Torino, Bakugo, and Deku there. Ugh.
Yeah.
Glad that didn't happen. Isaac, I know it's kind of weird asking your thoughts because you've known about this for 2 years now. But what are your thoughts on like the reemergence of Best Jeanist?
I mean, it's kind of obvious because not 100% obvious, but I had a hard time seeing Hawks truly kill him, if you catch my drift.
That's fair. But we still don't have answers because Dabi says that was a real body in that bag, so someone died. It just wasn't Best Jeanist. That's the thing where it's like,
yeah,
okay.
I know, but just maybe it was just a gut feeling, but it was a good, solid way to introduce him. That's for certain.
Yeah.
Or should
Yeah.
I say reintroduce him?
Mm-hmm.
But the more hype part is Lemillion.
Oh yeah.
We'll get to Fallout Boy in a second. I want to address this comment though. Arkwender says Gene's sales went down after baddies realized Genus could bound them. Yeah, that's I could see that. Him being a top hero and that he controls genes probably makes you stop wearing jeans. I get it.
I don't know. I think I had to become a hero after that. I wear jeans pretty much all the time, so I have to quit.
Or just stop being a villain.
Yeah, like I gave it a good run, y'all, but he's making the jeans, so I gotta be good now.
So on this episode of Chainsaw Man, power comes back. In this case of Lemillion. Guys, this might be the most hype moment of the season for me. Mirio Togata is one of my favorite characters in this entire series. It is so great to get that moment. And Isaac, they repaid the atrocity of season 5, where they gave him fight scenes this episode that didn't happen in the manga. I'm happy. I'm very much happy with that.
But the character does deserve some extra love.
He deserves all the love in the world. Addressing this comment right quick, still in Best Genus. If that body wasn't the real Genus, why wasn't Genus in the arc earlier to help the heroes? Yeah, that's a very good question.
I think, I don't know, like we saw in this episode, like him really going to the extent that he did to keep everyone bound. Like he was like opening old wounds, I guess, or I don't know. He's not in the same shape that he used to be. So I think he literally, like, this was the day that the doctor's like, all right, you're good. Just don't do anything crazy. And he's like, all right, I'm going out there. I'm going to the battlefield right now. So he probably wasn't ready yet.
I want everybody to remember that he literally had a hole in his gut last time he was on the battlefield fighting All For One. So I totally get, he's coughing up blood. He's not that. I mean, he stopped Gigantomachia. I'm not going to say he's not useful, but it was probably best for him to be the trump card, right? To be the last resort. Same with Lemillion. Lemillion technically should have been here sooner, but they were probably the last resort. Come in when you are absolutely needed. Only Togata got here a little bit sooner. He could have caught another quirk erasing bullet to save Aizawa.
Man. I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, oh damn, they reversed it. Maybe he didn't need to cut off his leg. But maybe they put it on ice. Maybe they can reattach it. I don't know.
He definitely needed to cut off his leg just for Shigaraki.
Yeah,
gonna touch the ground, decay everybody. So still worth it. But it's great seeing Eri get that much needed training, right? Like they quietly set this up in the background when you really think about it, because last season, Eraserhead does have a throwaway line of Eri starts her training today, and you just don't think about it that much until it's like, oh, she trained off screen. Cool. I want your thoughts on this, Jamie, though, because a lot of stuff this season technically has been happening off screen, and I don't necessarily know how I feel about it. Best Janus is alive off screen. Togata gets his quirk back off screen. Deku masters float off screen. Are you cool with that? In the nature of the story, are you okay with that, or is that kind of irritating at all?
As someone who's purely anime only, I feel like it's working just because everything that's happening, for lack of better words, it's not drawn out, but this event has extended multiple episodes, right? So if we were to take a pause to see how Deku's training, or Aries training, or Best Genus is recovering well, I do feel like that would have been a kind of it would have made it feel like an awkward repositioning of hey, why are we looking at this when there's literally a huge war going on outside. So I can't fault them for kind of having these things happen off screen. I think if it was something that we just like had absolutely no information on, I probably would have been a little bit more upset. But to see that like Best Jeanist is back, um, it's a bit of a surprise, but I'm not too upset about it. And Deku's training with like the different powers, like he's gonna have a billion different powers, I think. So we'll get to see we'll get to see more in-depth training for one of them. Maybe we'll get to see him train and like be able to talk to the past users of One for All. Um but yeah, I don't know. I don't think missing out on those moments impacts me personally on the way that the story is going. I think the way that they're tying them in now is pretty good.
That's a great way to look at it. I view it like Arcwinder here. OMG, so many things off screen. I hope that doesn't do something that would really shouldn't be off screen. Glares in manga reader. Oh yeah. Let's hope not.
Yeah. That's why I'm like everything that they've done so far that's been off screen, I'm like, I think that makes sense. And I could get it if it was like for the sake of time, but hopefully nothing that we haven't been introduced to yet gets like put off screen, because that would be like, what the hell? Like, how do we get here?
It'd be a real shame if they didn't do that one bit of spinner development that we needed, but that's okay. Arcwinder says, dude was ready to be back 3 months ago. Chances are he would be in better shape. Yeah, he should have been back a while ago. That's when Hawk showed up with his feather sword thing. I agree. I don't know. Maybe it was just the element of surprise. It feels like, I'm going to tell you what it really feels like. We needed Dabi to get crunched with his little YouTube video, but the only person who knew that is the author of the manga. So Horikoshi had to find out a way to keep Best Jeanist out of the battlefield so we can crunch him in real time. That's just what it was. Isaac, what are your thoughts on everything being off screen? I know you know a little bit more than Jamie at this point because you're like 2 years ahead of her, but
only a little bit.
No, honestly, that's one of the weakest thing about this book, or should I say currently, because or how it is right now, because I'm not a fan of off-screen stuff. Honestly, if you have heard my rant about the first Sword Art Online, or should I say first three, or Sword Art in general, one of my biggest gripes with it is that Kirito a lot of the times gets a big major power up off screen, and I'm just okay. How? Why? Why couldn't you show it? Show, don't tell. And it's similar. It's sort of like similar here, kind of deal. Because it's one way if you, how should I put it, write a book, then you might be able to do it off screen with a simple flashback chapter or two down the line, but I don't think flashbacks necessarily is working as well in the visual medium, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, My Hero Academia, they don't, it's funny to say because this show is full of flashbacks, but they don't really reveal new information in flashbacks. They tend to use flashbacks to remind you of something you already know. So it may have thrown us for a loop if we got too many flashbacks for these moments. Aries training and Genesis stuff being off screen is okay because they were not meant to be epic reveals and they were fully explored. That's fair. Yeah, like I feel like in this case it doesn't bother me. I just, again, I'm not trying to say too much. We'll get to the next part of the season when we get there. But we want to stick here. I think Best Jeanist's reveal was awesome. I just kind of hate they spoiled it a little bit in the preview. He's straight up in the preview, by the way, which I think was a terrible move. They really need to stop doing that. I don't watch the previews, and I know what's going to happen. And so it's awful. We get Lemillion, though. And I love how they handle this scene. right? Because Lemillion shows up. Everybody is defeated. Dabi did the whole dang thing. It looks like this is it. They're gonna lose, right? Especially with Gigantomachia showing up and all these Nomu showing up. But Lemillion's energy, right? His smile in the face of evil gives Bakugo a second win, gives Ida and Nejire-chan a second win, and they take out the Nomus and go at it. Bakugo is hit in his organs too, so he is not doing well. But he had a quirk awakening, and we got his hero name in this episode. All thanks to the energy of Togeda.
Let me ask you this: is he sticking with that? Because that's very long, and I remember Murder and God, and that's about it.
You see,
Explosion.
His name is Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite. Not Dynamite the normal way. Dynamite where it's spelled M-I-G-H-T for All Might, because he's that big of a stan.
That's fun.
He has no right to call Deku a nerd ever again. It sticks to the spoiler. That's still his name. It never changes.
Oh man, they gotta make it an acronym or something, or like shorten it. Like, there's no way anybody's gonna say all of that all of the time.
I mean, Ida will, because he calls him that in this episode.
Well, I mean, I think that's Ida. Like, I would see Ida doing that, but like everybody, I don't know about that.
His name's gonna just be Kachan. Deku calls him Kachan. We're gonna call him Kachan. That's his. That's his name. So yeah, but like, I love how Lemillion's energy spreads, and I think it's funny and kind of heartbreaking in the same way, right? Because that's what Sir Night-Eye said, and he's like, he should have one for all, because like you All Might, he inspires others. And then you see Deku, right, on the ground, can't move, can't do anything. Everybody's trying to protect him, and they're losing. And it's like Deku still doesn't have that same All Might like presence, saying, I am here, everything's going to be okay. Because Lemillion even says, I can't do anything here. Somebody help me, please. I can't fight these Nomu. But he was able to give them that second win to get back up and fight again. Isaac, did you notice that like theme of, we probably are still kind of questioning if Deku was the right one to get this power? Or are you like, it's okay?
Yep, I think you're pretty much spot on there.
Yeah, it's sad, but then you remember that the first and seventh users say, we chose Midoriya, we're staying with Midoriya, and it's like, Deku, you gotta get it together, dude. He goes Froppy style and like shoots Black Whip from his mouth, which is kind of weird, but
I wasn't expecting that. Yeah.
I mean, see, that's again planting the seeds. We saw him training, and she's like, why am I here? Why do you need to train with me if you're training with Uraraka and Sero? And it's like, that's why. Which I think is funny. Art Winder, well, for recent manga stuff, he might have a different title change. We're gonna leave that one alone. We're gonna circle back. Jamie, what are your thoughts on All for One and Shigaraki and their whole deal? Because it's very confusing.
I like it. I see it as kind of a it's almost like a mentor-mentee situation, but it's also, I don't know, Shigaraki's like kind of rebelling against him in the way that I guess he doesn't necessarily want to say, like, he helped me do this. I am doing this alone, and I'm doing this for myself, which in turn, All for One's like, but you don't realize you're still falling into my trap because you're doing what I want you to do. So I don't know. It's a very interesting relationship, and I'm curious to see, like, I guess just how it develops in the future. Because at least as far as my memory goes, I haven't really seen them interact in the ways that they've interacted this season. So, and he was a problem. He was a problem for most of the season, up until like the last couple episodes. So I don't know. It's so interesting because they refuse to like kill these villains, and obviously they're gonna leave with their tail between their legs and come back and try again. But that's always when things get like infinitely worse. So I don't know. It's very interesting what they're doing with both those characters right now.
The relationship between Shigaraki and All for One is so weird to me because, again, I probably just have Naruto in the brain, but for this series gets compared to Naruto so much. Do we really want to go the Sasuke Orochimaru route with our villains?
No.
No, yeah. It feels like, I don't know, it's just very strange because we spent all last season building up Shigaraki, right? Showing us his backstory just for All for One, and it's not even explained well because All for One is in prison. Like, at least the other One for All users are deceased, so it's like their spirit lives in Deku. Are there two All for Ones? I don't understand it. To this day, I still don't understand it.
I don't know. I think it's kind of the idea of like All for One living in Shiggy's head rent free, but also I don't know. I think they also have like some kind of a special connection where he can like talk with him and influence him in some ways. And maybe it's just like the way that that's being visualized is slightly confusing, which I do agree is like a little like kind of makes you wonder what's happening at times. But I don't know. I think like they have been building him up, but I don't necessarily think that All for One's influence, at least in my opinion, I don't think All for One's influence has necessarily erased like the motivations that Shigaraki has and that the stuff that he has been able to accomplish in this season.
Yeah, it hasn't. It's just I guess we spent over 100 episodes building Deku up, right? And understanding how his power works to where Shigaraki, I'm like, who is All for One? Why is this man is in prison, and you told us if he even thinks about using his power, he's dead on sight. So what's going on here?
That is a good question.
Artwinder says, from what I understand, All for One is just protecting himself in Shiggy's head. Besides, it's not like he has much to do where he is right now. That's very fair. He's just sitting, grinning, tied up in prison like he has been for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Isaac, question.
Shoot.
So we're getting towards the end of this battle, right? And we know there's only like, what, 1 or 2 episodes left in this core? One episode left. Jeez Louise. Okay.
So we have 1 episode left of Shane. 2 episodes left of Chainsaw Man, 1 left of Bleach, 1 left of My Hero. It's 1 of Spy X Family. It's a lot.
Dang, we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do here. But
I know.
That's too much at the same time. It was fun when they all premiered at the same time, but it's going to suck when they all end at the same time.
Yeah, just have to watch Glass Onion and Avatar and repeat, I guess.
Glass Onion is actually really good. That's like theater. So,
I'm excited to see it.
You like the Avatar?
Avatar? Yeah, I love Avatar. I talk about it all the time.
You know what I mean.
The Way of the Water is fine. It's better than the first.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it yet. I'm trying to decide if I want to go see it in theaters or not, but
I'm gonna wait for Disney Plus.
If you're gonna watch it, you watch it in theaters. Otherwise, there's no point. I'm gonna be real.
I'm curious and want to watch it. I just don't have time and money and all that just in order to have a chance to go to the theater.
That's a good point.
James Cameron is very mean because he says not only watch it in the theater, watch it. It's going to be 3 hours long, and you're going to spend $25 on a 3D ticket to experience it the way it's meant to be seen. I digress.
He is reintroducing 3D.
It's a 3D movie, of course.
Oh, fuck no. Then I'm in the cinema.
We're talking about Boku no Hero Academia.
Anyway.
We're in the last core. That's all I was trying to get to. It's going to be fascinating to see what the next episode, because, My Hero is blessed to have 2 cores a season, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna go straight into the next core after this, after a small holiday break. But I guess I'll start with you, Jamie. What do you think that you're gonna get a satisfying conclusion from this part of the story? Because it feels like it's winding down, but it also feels like Best Jeanist and the Millions show up, and then Compress has something up his sleeve. Where is this gonna go from here? Type of deal.
I honestly I couldn't tell you. It's
Fair.
it's weird with these like core splits, I guess, because they could in theory wrap this up and then move on to like maybe some like we're hanging out, it's the holidays, and then something happens there. Or it could be like a momentary pause in the battle where everyone's licking their wounds and then they get right back to it and a few episodes into the second core. What I personally would like to see, I feel like Compress and some of the other villains that are present haven't really made their presence known in way of like showing force in the battle or talking junk. I don't know. Like they're all just hanging out on on what's the guys, the giant dudes.
Gigantomachia.
Yeah, Gigantomachia's back. They're all just hanging out, like waiting for things to happen. I'm like, go make something happen. You guys, like, there are enough of you guys. Like, the heroes are already having trouble as it is with the villains that are attacking. If y'all made a show of force, then that would make things much more interesting. Because I don't know how they would respond to that. I don't know if it would be like a great show of force or if it would be something that could be easily dismissed. But y'all did not
They
come
did
like
nothing.
yeah, like y'all didn't ride into the battlefield just to hang out. Like y'all want to help make your dream come true, and they even mentioned that in this week's episode, I believe. So
Yeah.
I want to see them do more work, because I've definitely seen a lot of heroes that have not stepped up to the plate step up to the plate this core, which I've been really impressed with, and I think the villains need to do something like that as well.
Yeah, it's sad because Twice is killed.
Yeah.
And Toga is emotionally distraught. So they get a pass for not doing hardly anything.
Yeah.
But
And
like,
I mean, both of them did do something, so I give them the pass.
yeah, but it's like Spinner, Compress, and Skeptic uploaded a video to YouTube. That's really what he did.
Yeah.
Like, I need to see something from Spinner and Compress, which at least they hint that Mr. Compress is going to probably do something in the next episode. But it's like Dabi was about to go down there and murk all of them if it wasn't for Best Jeanist, and nobody was going to support him. It's just, okay, sure.
Yeah, like I know they didn't just come to hang out. Go do something. Go fight.
Especially with Endeavor, because Endeavor is just, he's shook. Like, he's full on panic attack, has not moved an inch, no matter how much Shoto yells at him. That man is broken, and I don't know how we fix it.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know if he's knocked out or just exhausted at the moment, but this would be a great chance for them to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it would. Isaac, you have any other thoughts on My Hero Academia this week?
No, not what I can think of, at least.
The only thing Skeptic did the whole series was help to get Endeavor canceled, and you can't tell me otherwise. Art Winder, you're very, very correct with that one. Like, the man is not doing a lot, but you know, it takes a long time to edit a YouTube video, speaking from experience. So if he cut all of that on the fly on Gigantomachia's back, you know, I give him a little bit of credit. Just a little bit, though. He's not helping in any other way.
So what you're meaning is that you're not skeptical about that comment?
Oh boy. So, was anybody else expecting more from the Hawks thing when Dabi's like, hey, Hawks' parents were villains?
Oh my god. That's a good thing you brought that up.
Okay.
I don't know. It's like so much going on that I guess I won't say it was easy to overlook, but it's just like there's so much going on. We have to revisit this at another point in time. But I definitely want to hear more about that for sure. I definitely want to hear more about that.
that's why it's kind of hard to organize the My Hero discussions because there's so much going on.
Right.
And
That's one of the reasons why I'm not too pressed about them like having things off screen, because I'm already like, there's so much going on.
yeah, it's so weird because I feel like maybe I just don't care about this. Like in the grand scheme of things, you're not who your parents are. So
Right.
if Hawks is the number 2 hero and he's leading the charge against these villains, I don't care who his parents are. You know, like Shoto's dad is Endeavor. We just got all the tea on that one, but I'm not going to sit here and say Shoto is worthless. So
Right.
I don't know. Isaac, do you think that this was kind of a pointless reveal at this point, or yeah?
Honestly, I can see. How should I put it? Does it feel pointless? Yes. But on the other hand, the court of public opinion, when they hear something like that, can sway from the positive to the negative, even if it's rather the sins of the father doesn't comes down to the child. If you catch my drift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things where it's like, that's a reveal. It's interesting. I'm now interested in his backstory. So if anything, it works for storytelling purposes. But as far as like what Dabi was trying to accomplish, I'm like, you could have just left it that he killed Best Jeanist.
I think
his parents didn't matter.
I think it maybe would have been more impactful if we found this out while Hawks was playing for both teams, because then maybe to the heroes it would like sow some seeds of doubt where they're like, oh yeah, well his parents were like villains. Maybe he wants to follow in their footsteps in some way, and he's playing us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It definitely it was an interesting time to bring up this information. I think Arkwinder's comment is pretty funny. It's like Dabi says Hawk's parents are bad people. It's like, okay.
But you burned a man alive.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
Whenever we get an update with Hawks.
Well, you gotta make sure Hawks is alive first of all, because they've panned to too many.
Right.
They panned to too many people lying there dead. Like seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know. And like we have 2 of the big 3 here, and it's like, does anybody want to check on Sun Eater? Where's my boy Amajiki? I gotta make sure he's okay, because last time we saw he got ran over by Gigantomaki. So it's like, but I'm glad to wrap this up. I'm glad that the kids were able to slow Makia down. Even though it felt like it was a failure at first, but I'm glad.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I completely forgot that they even did that. So when he fell down, I'm like, wow, that was like a really good hit, Endeavor. And they're like, oh yeah, the anesthetic. I'm like, oh yeah.
He traveled.
It paid off.
Eventually it paid off. And back to the main theme, the threads of hope, right? Like they eventually all came together, just like this convoluted story. Yes. Mike, is Sun Eater safe? Is he all right? Yes, that's how I feel. I feel like Vader looking for Padme. It's like, where's my boy? We already know he's a scaredy cat. We got to make sure he's good. That's all I got to say.
We can say that he would be over the moon with joy if he heard that he was safe.
Yeah, that was a stretch of a joke, Isaac, but I appreciate the effort.
Moon, I know. Anyway.
Anything else on My Hero, you guys?
Nah, man. I don't know where they're gonna go with this next.
Let's go. And I still don't know where they're gonna go with this next. Happy holidays. We're taking Christmas off, but we'll see you guys the following week. For those of you staying for Spy Family, we're gonna take a 60-second break and we'll be right back. Go Beyond. Plus Ultra.
Hey,